Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Aligning with Success call. We're going to have a little bit of this Aligning with Success dialogue tonight. But before I get into that, let's go ahead and start aligning with some current success. This weekend was a pretty busy weekend with events, active wellness tour events, and I'd love to hear some feedback from those of you who are either participating, hosting at one. Let me know, let us know, because the more we learn from those experiences, the better the next ones are going to be. So please share.
Well, I had one just yesterday afternoon, and it was a small group, but we did get a new customer and re-energized executive who now has a guy going for silver underneath them, and he was very excited. So it was good. I think it went really well. We zoomed it, we recorded it. Stan Bogutz did a great job as my featured guest, and we were able to promote the next event in March. But it also got us excited about doing, weeklies in between and more ABCs. So that was really helpful. Thank you.
That's terrific. I mean, that's the key to building momentum is rhythm.
Right.
So those events in the middle, whether they're in-homes, Zoom meetings, whatever they are, the more you have, think of the compounding effect of anything. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what we're talking about, the penny doubling principle. So the more opportunities there are for the penny to double, the more momentum you create, period.
And I don't see Dee Welch on here now.
Yeah, she was on.
Was she on?
Yeah, she's on.
Okay, Dee, share what happened with you, because you had a prospect. There were several of us. There were several other sites that were tuned in.
Yeah, it was fun. Everybody was...
Yeah, so I had a prospect on the Zoom with Randy and Stan yesterday, and I talked to her today. She found it interesting, very interesting. She is seeing a couple more alternative docs right now. She's got some GI issues herself and is pretty sensitive, but is also very aware of herbal treatments and that type thing. So I'm meeting with her tomorrow. She said she knows she doesn't want to be a consultant. She's done that with some other companies. But she's interested in exploring, sampling paleo bars and wanted to know more about the insoles and things. So, and she was open to getting on the Tune In Tuesday call tomorrow night. So I will send her that link, and she was open to Dr. Weintraub's information. And also Ursula Dowd's information with the cell phone and the insoles and without the insoles.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'd love to see that.
Okay, I can send it. It's on Ben's YouTube site.
Would you mind sharing that link with the Launch Partners WhatsApp, and then I can post it as well? By the way, just a FYI, for those of you who've got upcoming events like Tune In Tuesdays tomorrow, please don't forget to repost those events everywhere there's a channel. For instance, you can post on the Royal Alliance. That's my channel. I keep that channel going. So that channel really goes to everybody, Crossline and all. So feel free to do that. Also to post on the or update, or just use your WhatsApp app as well to remind people. Just anytime there's an event that's imminent and it's like tomorrow, that's an opportunity to remind everyone there's something happening to plug into that. By the way, I just also switched views from gallery view to speaker view. I wonder how does it come across that way on your end?
It's
no?
Clear.
No, do you see just one speaker at a time, or do you see the whole gallery?
I see the whole gallery.
Okay, so that's just...
We can do whatever we want here at our end.
Okay, that's fair. So I think it's just affecting the way I record the session. That's all. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, where were we? Yes.
I had one in the Tampa area in St. Petersburg this weekend. We had a small group as well. Igor Grundle was our featured speaker. We had 3 new customers that placed orders, and we had 4 I get 4 executives that were there that are building their business that got a lot out of it, and we're asking about another one so they could bring their customers in mid-March. So we're looking at the possibility of mid-March for another one. It was very successful. We had a beautiful day. We had all of the products. It was out in my garden.
I saw that video, by the way. If you guys didn't see Charles' video, he posted it on Facebook, I guess it was. I'm not sure where you posted it, but I saw it.
Yes, I started doing that, and I was my first kick at the cat, so I didn't know what I was doing. And it seemed to be going well, and then it gave me some messages. So I said, oh, I guess it's not on, so I stopped it.
No, it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't forget to put it asks for a description before you actually go live, to put a description of what you're going to do. So write something in, but always write hashtag Active Wellness Tour. That way, everyone on the Active Wellness Tour hashtag is going to pick up on that feed. They'll see it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's a reminder for everybody.
I put it in because I didn't know about hashtags, so now I've been told about that, so next time it will. And
please, everybody, make the habit of doing that. Get your live events recorded. Just the more of this there is, again, every impression, let's leave that discussion of impressions that we've had. Every impression makes an impression. And so keep that in mind when you're doing your activities, your events, and so forth. When you're taking your photographs and whatnot, what's the impression you want to give? So use the eye of the person who's directing and producing that particular segment and create an impression for the rest of us.
How did my preview of a couple of days before, how did that come across?
I'm not sure if I remember.
Okay, I did one 2 days before saying we're doing one this Saturday, please join us, etc.
I saw that, Charlie, and I ended up sending it to somebody I know down in Sarasota. So, and I liked it because it was very brief, but it got the message out there.
Sure.
That's important too. Somebody else did a video. I noticed they did the countdown that I do. Who was that? Was that you, Christine? Good for you. So let's carry on with more success stories of the weekend. Anyone else? And any tips that we can add to that?
Well, I was involved in 3 in a row because of using my Zoom for the Sunday one and going in for Christine's into Pittsburgh. And so it was a lot of work, but it was fun and getting tips from each one. So with Randy and I, she was the guest into this Anytime Fitness on Friday night, and then it was my Zoom room on Sunday. So when we were using the laptop to be able to switch from having the slides down to where the energy testing was and so forth, we learned a few things as far as how to zoom in and so forth. But it was really very helpful. And each time it was so exciting to hear the people's experiences. And for Dee's guest, she spoke up on Stan's call earlier about kinesiology testing and so forth. So truly that learning environment is very powerful to go from one to the other, and the cross-line collaboration has just been wonderful. The Grubers did a wonderful couples close on at Anytime Fitness in the evening, and it was very nice co-hosting with Christine on Saturday. So this teamwork that has started, Michael, to have had the January and the February and planning already into March and April, and the people that are here that are working collaboratively together. And Cheryl heard from the call and called and asked. And so we're doing the same thing again. So it truly is just a little bit at a time that's helping others.
And I sort of and Ben and I have had this conversation as well. In fact, I had this conversation with our CEO, Kurt, last week, just sort of giving him a play-by-play of what our strategy is and how we figured this first quarter, what this first quarter is really about. It's really about cementing the team, who is the forerunners of this wave, and getting you up to snuff, up to speed on the mechanisms for promotion and getting you into the rhythm and starting that rhythm flowing so that contacting and inviting becomes effortless and natural, and we start feeding the pipeline of prospects into our events. Of course, the more events and the more cross-line collaboration, the more interesting the events become. All these little impressions, all these little touch points that we create through this wonderful vehicle that we now have online, for instance, and social media, that gives us an advantage like we've never had before, and it's just learning how to leverage it. Anyone else? We got time for one more?
It's Barb.
Christine, is your
Oh, maybe
mic
two.
work yet?
Who was that just jumped in? There's
That's
two.
me, Bob Gruber.
Okay, Bob.
But Christine was Christine and her mom's event, but Christine's got a new computer and her microphone. She can't figure out how that works. So we'll give a little recap. It was good. I mean, it was her mom and her first joint event that they've ever done. And they had it organized to the T with everything just right. We had a little problem at first with the computer and getting the picture on the TV. And the people at the hotel weren't much help, but Christine's husband came to the rescue, and we got it to work. And we had 15 people there. We had 3 consultants that had been in the shadows for several years that came out of the shadows. And we had 2 guests and did quite a few demonstrations, and it was very good.
So excellent.
Yeah, and out of 15 people, 4 different teams, and that greater Pittsburgh momentum, it was kind of like in a good geographical area.
Excellent. Okay, good. And just like I said, getting the cobwebs off, getting this thing running where you guys are actually comfortable running these events and running the technology, that is an education in itself. The value of that, you have to understand and appreciate the value that brings to you as a person, as a commodity in this business world, with this being the inevitable way business is to be done. So it's all an excellent exercise for everybody.
Well, yeah, and I hook my computer up to my TV all the time, and I know how to do it. And I get there, and I do it the same way, and it don't work. And Gary Bolton had a very good lesson. You either react or you adapt. Well, I was reacting and adapting. So,
yes, is that Barb?
Christine, for this being her first event, she saw right away how you have to switch to Plan B, Plan C, and
welcome to entrepreneurship, Christine. Barb, you wanted to add something. Yeah.
I can top all of you with the technical problems, because in my 20 years, I have never, ever had such a discombobulated event. But the good news is it ended up with all 25 of them staying, a large order, lots of enthusiasm. But I can tell you, I had every issue, and I'm smart enough to get computer people there. I had all kinds of help. We had every imaginable thing go wrong. And thank goodness, talk about collaboration. I'm on the iPhone to Suzanne Steele saying, this is where we are. I can't get into the Zoom. This is what's happening. She gets into Zoom for me, she chats it to people, telling me what's going on. Finally, when Ben comes on, I get on Zoom through my phone so we can at least hear him. I mean, I'm telling you guys, everything that could go wrong. And I had a very good 2 laptops, 2 projectors, nothing was going right. And I said, at the end of it, I said, okay. And they were such troopers. They all hung in there. And like I said, lots of enthusiasm and lots of team collaboration. I'm trying to jump in and introduce everybody while this is all going on. And I've never in my 20 years had such a, but, what was I going to say? So I said at the end, you know what? All of this with 25 people hanging in there, that is so much better than having a meeting and nobody showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So with all the issues, and I mean, it really was a fiasco, but it turned out okay.
When she called me later, she said she had to give in and have a glass of wine. So that's pretty good for Barb.
Well, listen, I hope you guys are starting to have fun and starting to get a picture of what this can look and feel like for the people that we're bringing into this business and inviting in. It's a community. We are building a community of entrepreneurs. This is our point number 3 on our flyer, right? Connecting with entrepreneurs. And you're demonstrating that. That's what I think is really important about doing what you're doing and using the technology as much as you are, because you're actually showing people how we connect. Fabulous.
One other thing, Mike, too, is after we got done with our event in Cranberry, we went out to dinner. Okay, so Christine and her husband are really newbies in this. Okay, they were in San Antonio. She was in San Antonio. He wasn't. And then they came to the Cleveland. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think he was there. Yeah, but then this was their.
Yeah, they said he was there for Mike.
Yeah, so when we, afterwards we went out to eat and had a nice little table for 9. So a lot of that conversation back and forth there is just like the night that you were in Cleveland when we went to Maria's house. You know.
Yeah. It's the meeting after the meeting and the meeting before the meeting. That is the meeting. We're social creatures. That's why this is so
Maria's
relevant.
husband brought a little. Yeah, he brought.
Excellent.
It is.
Okay. Anyone else? I want to switch gears if I can.
I just want to say one thing. My sister has been waiting 20 years for me to do this business. And in the last month and a half, I feel like I'm ruined because I want to leave my job and I'm content, but I'm not. And so it's amazing, Mike, when you said that just little things every day, that's the basis of your business. And then you have the weekly meeting, then you have the monthly meeting, and I'm ruined. I can see the vision. I can see myself walking away and doing what I need to do. So I am. It's done, and
Fabulous.
It's just a matter of when.
This is a really good transition to what I want to talk about next. Now, I'm going to bring this up to a little high level here, because as an engineer and a scientist, I am always intrigued by information that comes my way of the kind of research that's being done. Today, I saw some free energy technology that's pretty cool. We're on the verge of some major changes on this planet. But one thing that happened on May 27th last year, or 2015 actually, was an experiment. And it wasn't the first time this experiment was done. And in fact, it was an adaptation of the experiment. And any of you I don't think I've actually done this presentation for any of you on this line. I've added this slide to my law of attraction presentation because it's just something I've talked about, but to have the actual visuals is kind of cool. So I'm going to share this with you and then walk you through this and see if you can keep up. I'll understand if you need me to repeat things, so don't be shy about that. So hopefully you can see my screen right now. Can you all see my screen right now?
Yes.
You can. Okay. Let's just see if this works the way I want it to work. So.
Hidden messages of water.
Yeah. All right. So this is called the famous double slit experiment. Okay, so today's topic, again, we're reminded of alignment with success, aligning with success. The last comment was, I can now see it. Now, how important is that really? And I'm going to show you something here. Now, on the slide, let me get my annotation so you can actually see what I'm doing, if I can actually do an annotation. It may not let me do annotation. Okay. No, it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to have to describe what I'm talking about. Okay, so the bottom left-hand side is 2 slits. When they shot a particle, they literally shoot, like when you shoot a photon at 2 slits, you think the photon can only go through one slit at a time, right? Logically, if I throw a ping pong ball at a wall that has 2 slits in it, chances are, if I've got good aim, it's going to go through one of the slits. Is it possible that it goes through both of them at the same time? Now, logic would say, no, it's not possible. In the world that we live in, from the level that we perceive it as, it's not possible. But in the quantum world, this is the realm of thought. It's the quantum world. In the quantum world where the physical world manifests from, you heard me right. The physical world is a manifestation of the quantum world, not the other way around. And so in the quantum world, when you shoot a photon at a double slit, it doesn't make 2 patterns on the screen when they go through those slits. It makes the one on the back wall there you see, it looks like, I don't know, railroad tracks or something. That's what it looks like. a pattern called constructive and destructive interference pattern. So literally what they've proven is that a particle goes through both slits at the same time because it's only a probability. It's not an actuality. And so the particle is actually taking up two places at the same time. It operates in both space and time simultaneously, two places at once. Okay, what's that got to do with anything? Well, let's carry on this idea. So what they did was they decided to shoot a proton, an atom. So this one's showing photons, but this particular experiment that they did a variation on, they actually shot an atom. That's the physical world we're living in. Photons don't actually operate the same as atoms because atoms are affected by things like gravity and electromagnetic fields, whereas photons are not. But in this particular case, they shoot this atom, again, through the double slit experiment. So they shoot it, it goes through the slit, and halfway before it hits the cameras on the other side, all right, at the midway point, they make a decision to close or open a slit. So in the top slide, they close the slit. They open the slit. So they shoot the photon through one slit. So what would you expect to see? One line. Instead, after the particle has already passed the slit, it's already on the other side of the slit, they change the experiment. They decide to remove the covering of the second slit, and guess what happens? Instantly, there's a pattern change on the graphic, on the right, on the wall, on the camera. It behaves as if it went back in time and went through both slits at the same time. This is a physical reality. Vice versa, when they shoot the thing through the double slit and they decide to close the slit after it's already gone through the slit, we get a particle. It behaves like a particle. So what's that telling us? What that tells us is that a thing is not a thing until it's observed, until a decision to observe it in a specific way happens. So nothing happens independently of you. Nothing happens independent of what you are seeing. When you say, I can see it, you're saying, I'm imagining it. You're using your cognitive function, your ability to use reason, your ability to use imagination to actually place a focus or a decision on a specific outcome. When you do that, you change the outcome. There is not an outcome operating independently of you. Mm-hmm. And that's true about every single physical thing in your reality. This is so astounding, this information, because it changes everything. It changes our understanding of how reality actually manifests. That reality doesn't happen to us. Reality happens through us. This is huge. This is huge. So we're talking about physics that's happening on such an incredible level that is allowing us to perceive ourselves or to perceive reality in the way it's actually happening. And most of us don't see it that way. We think of the world as being objective and separate and apart from us, and we're in it. So everything that we're observing, everything that's happening around us and in our lives, we see it as if it's happening to us. What we don't understand is that this experiment is actually telling us that's not the case. We do not live in an objective reality. We live in a subjective reality. It's subjective to our choices. And our choices are defined by those things that we choose on a conscious or an unconscious level. So when you say, I can see something, you're choosing something on a conscious level. That's what's happening. So exercising your ability to see something on a conscious level is shaping the reality that you are going to experience. Because no matter what's been set in motion, even though the particles of your life have gone through the slits, they change the moment you change your perception. The reality changes. And so what you will see in terms of the screen of your life, the camera of your life, is based on the natural laws of physics, how something will come into being in a natural process. Like when we sow a seed, there's a period of time before we reap the harvest. But if we sow the seed, we will reap the harvest. And that's what this is telling us, is that it's something that changes with our intention. Now, with that being true, consider this. If you and the person on the window beside you, there's you and that's them, okay? Now, I don't know if you remember Venn diagrams in university or high school. They used to tell us, okay, let's say everything that's under the domain of green there, that's all the apples that are green. And everything in the domain of the circle blue, that's all the apples that are red. And the intersection where the two meet, those are the apples that are both red and green. Remember that? How that worked? So now, when we're talking about people, you have more in common with the person beside you than you think. In fact, when you consider the fact that chimpanzees have 97% of our DNA, we're a lot closer to chimpanzees than you might imagine. So with respect to people, there's a lot more in common that we have. And we can say that the circle that encompasses you or the person next to you, that's the summation. We're going to say that is everything you are and think yourself to be and believe yourself to be, conscious and subconscious. How you see you and how they see themselves, and then whatever is the things that are common between the two. Let's extend this concept again. Let's take this into a bigger context.
Oh, yes.
Your definition of the Creator, your definition of God, universe, however you define it. Notice it's a dotted line, it's not a solid line, because when we learned Venn diagrams, whenever we described a grouping that was infinite in size, we were not allowed to use a solid line. It had to be a dotted line. So given the Creator and our definition of it is that it's infinite, there's the dotted line. So now if I say, what is the intersection of you and the Creator? There's only one conclusion. You. So the intersection of you and God is you. That's by definition. If there is only one God, and this God is infinite, therefore you and nothing can be separate from it. Creator and creation are both the same.
Well, almost, not quite.
Well, no. Creator and creation, meaning creation is the manifestation of Creator. That which is being created by Creator itself. And so if we go back to the idea, the photon is not acting independently. It's acting based on will, based on consciousness. So the consciousness known as the great I am is the ever encompassing consciousness, whereas you are a limited perception of it. It, though, is one, and there is only one. Otherwise, you're defining Creator and creation as separate, and that makes Creator not infinite. You can't have it both ways. So if Creator is infinite and there is only one, the intersection of you and all things, or you and Creator, is you. So now, if we understand that, we start to understand the verbiage likeness and image. Born in the likeness and image, created in the likeness and image. Meaning we are the fabric of and have the capacity to create in the same likeness and image, in the same way through consciousness. Let there be light, there's light. What you place your focus on is what you create in terms of your manifestation. So physics is now demonstrating these principles that were once only conceived of as theological principles or metaphysical principles as actual facts under observation. So then we get to the idea, God is a frequency that exists within you, so we need to tune in. This is the concept of aligning with success. Align with the idea that there's a version of yourself that is magnificent. There is a version of yourself within you that is pure and perfect creation and has the ability to create whatever it is you tune into, whatever it is you tune your thoughts into. So what we really need to start doing is imagining a version of ourselves that has a greater capacity than the one we're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the imagination. That's what you're the only thing in creation that can imagine itself to be something that it is not.
Yes.
You know, an animal is an animal. It can't imagine itself to be anything else. It certainly doesn't imagine, a tree doesn't imagine itself to go be from an apple tree to an orange tree and then it starts producing oranges. No. So we have this incredible ability to shift our consciousness, and in doing so, shift our frequency. So when we're talking about a greater version of you, what is the greatest version of you? That's 2 slides back. You know, when you heard the expression, I and the Father are one, that concept, the greatest version of you is one with the Creator, that frequency, when you're perfectly tuned in, channeling perfect consciousness. Now, does that happen? Not every day, and probably rarely, but can we at least approach it? Yes. Knock and the door will be open unto you. We can approach it.
But what is your point? You use in scripture.
You're talking, I can hear you, whoever's talking. So the point is, if we can imagine a better version of our own life experience, start imagining things being successful, start imagining things going your way, start imagining people listening to you and wanting to hear the story of Niken through you. Start imagining yourself as a great storyteller. Start imagining yourself as somebody who's really good with technology and getting better every day. The more you start to see a greater version of yourself, the more you will be given the capacity to experience that greater version. Just like when you decide to remove the slits or add the slits, the outcome changes. Nothing is transfixed. And so we have within us the ability to shift what's going on in our life rather quickly, beginning with imagining it. And so this concept, I got a great lesson on this through an author by the name of Neville, my favorite author. And he talks about this as being the law of assumption rather than the law of attraction. When we begin to assume ourselves as something greater than we are currently experiencing ourselves as, that's when we're going to start to actually operate that way. We're going to be funded. We're going to be given the energy. We're going to be given the strength. We're going to be given the courage. We're going to be given the words. We're going to be given the expressions. When you start to stand in those shoes and operate that way, you're implying to the universe that is who you are, and the universe can only do one thing: respond. So this is the concept of aligning with success. The journey begins between here, the 6 inches between your ears. That's where this whole journey begins. And then you'll see all the things in your life start to make a shift. All the alignment will start to happen there, especially in your Niken business. So imagine success in Niken. Imagine that is not something that you're waiting for in the future. Imagine it is who you are. It's what you embody. Because you can only imagine the truth of something right now. I can't say to you, tomorrow when you wake up, I want you to imagine, because that's only going to be effective tomorrow. We can only shift things in our current state. So getting in alignment right here, right now, means shifting who we see ourselves as, who we imagine ourselves to be. And so all the things that you're doing, those daily activities, those daily things, those things need to be affirming the person you are seeking to experience yourself as. So for instance, if health is what you want to experience, then you need to be affirming that every single day. How do we do that? How can we affirm health every day? Give me some examples. We're all in Niken.
Take nutritional supplements.
Yeah.
Drink the water. Use every product. Exercise.
Yeah. Everything you do in concert with Niken products and technologies is an affirmation of health, because you know it's for your health. So when you take a demonstrative step to do something with that, you're saying, I affirm my health. The original Niken motto, I think, is the best. I think we should probably go back to. Yes, my wellness. That was the original Nikken model from 1975 in Japan. It was plastered all over the place in Japan. It was in our promotional materials at the beginning. Yes, exclamation mark, my wellness.
Nice and simple.
Very simple.
Mm.
And if we remember what Dave Johnson emailed recently was something that Mr. Masuda, the founder of Nikken, used to carry around in his wallet, that you had to first think and act and be like the person you want to see yourself as before you can become that person. So he carried that with him. His whole spirit, his whole philosophy is embedded in this company, and hence, yes, my wellness is the motto. Yes, my wellness is not, yes, I'm going to be well someday. It's yes, right here, right now, my wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an affirmation. So if we're talking about health, that's an easy one. That's an easy one to understand. We get that. But what about healthy finances?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we seem to get all tripped up when it comes to finances? And the truth of the matter is there's no difference. There's absolutely no difference.
Yeah.
Because you could be taking healthy supplements and thinking negative thoughts about your health. What do you think those supplements are going to do? I used to go to lunch with Bob Proctor, lunch, dinner, whatever. And he always used to order French fries. And I think, Bob, that's probably not the best thing for you, especially at your age. And he'd say, Mike, body is the manifestation of mind. It doesn't matter what I eat. My body will take what it needs. The rest it'll reject.
No.
It's based on my self-image. Wow. Does he get that? So yeah, and he's like 83 years old, going strong. Just built a studio, a television studio in his backyard. That's, and so here's a guy who just doesn't talk it; he actually lives it.
Yeah.
So psycho-cybernetics, yeah, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, good stuff. So yeah, so what I'm talking about, this idea of aligning with success, it's not about something that we're going to be. It's not a future tense. It's not about what we are going to become. It's what we assume we are now, and the becoming is a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the simple result of the law in action, because the physical universe works that way. Physically, nothing is independent of our thought. So when atoms move around according to how we think, wow, that should tell you something.
Mm.
And by the way, they're not even limited to time. They're independent of time. Your thoughts transcend time. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't even matter where you are in health or anything like that. This is powerful stuff. So when you hear about people who've had a miracle, like they were healed, we say by the grace of God, we give the credit to God. Well, because there is only one God acting anyway. So of course you're going to give the credit to where the credit's due. But you also understand when Jesus would heal, and I'm sorry if I'm using a religious context for some of you, but it's what I'm familiar with. He would say it was by your faith you were healed. He would never say it was by my faith,
Right.
by my power, by me, by who I am. He'd say by your faith. So he would always put the onus on you as the author of the healing. The power is the power. What comes through you is always the one and only power there is. But you're the author of what that power does in you and through you.
Right.
And so the law of assumption, these scientific experiments, these things are all converging to tell us the one thing. Now, we are truly the creators of our future, our destiny. And the key to creation is to start in the moment, right here, right now, assuming the part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mike,
Yes.
isn't it true? The flip side of that, true. A little bit ago, you mentioned, how powerful the 6 inches or 5 inches between our ears is. Isn't the flip side of that too? Is that we are also responsible not only for creating our success, but also our destruction.
Well, surely. It's the same law.
Yeah. It's like when Earl Nightingale talks about using the mind as a field. You can plant corn or you can plant nightshade. The field's going to manifest whatever you plant.
Exactly. The law is not a law of morality. The law is absolute. which means whether you're a good person or not good person, when you step off a building, gravity is going to take you down no matter what. The law is the law. So whether you operate with the law, in harmony with the law, in alignment with the law, or whether you're out of alignment with the law, it's still the law. It operates independently of all of us because it's the MO of God, the creator of the universe. So essentially all we're doing is lining up with the truth and then allowing that truth to flow through us. So I love the reason I called this call Aligning with Success is because of all this work that I've been doing over the years, teaching me that it is not a future experience. Success can only be experienced in the moment when you assume the part, and then the physical world makes the adjustments accordingly, and you will experience it through your 5 senses. But you've got to first experience it through your 6th sense, which is in the invisible world, before you will experience it in the visible world through the natural laws of the physical world.
Mike, that's exactly what I wanted to tie in even earlier, just before we went into the segment. And I was going to say, I was at the launch with Barbara, and I'm serious. I have never seen so many things go so wrong so quickly. It was a flow of what could have been a disaster. But the point is, we kept moving. And I'm looking at Barbara, seeing all of these technical people, very capable, doing what they needed to do. And she was truly troubleshooting very well, very calm, very poised. It was wonderful. And so what she's thinking is, what in the world am I going to do now? But what she did was acted out what needed to be done. So at one point, when there was a dead space, because we knew something had gone awry, it was very obvious, Dr. Caldwell started telling a story. And I loved it. But when she finished, nobody said anything. So I opened my mouth and I started giving an example of what they were discussing. Then I realized Barbara's tied up. So I started in the front and I was going to tell a story. And I'm thinking, but I heard Barbara as I passed her. She said, tell stories, tell lots of stories, tell stories. And it was so funny. And the encouragement I wanted to give to everybody is, no matter what's going on, you know more than any of the guests. So don't freak out. And that was what got me through my dissertation. I was told by associates, by colleagues, you're going to know more about your topic than anybody. So no matter what happens, don't lose confidence in what you know. You know to talk. So as I continued going forward, thinking of stories, of course they flowed. We love Nikin. We've used these products. So don't anybody freeze up. Don't act like you don't know that these products are of high quality, that they work if people will work it, and you are able to do what you're thinking. And what you're thinking is what he's talking about and how it multiplies because of the quantum laws of physics. So go do it. Don't let anything tell you you can't do it.
Amen to that.
No, Mike, before what I think is really different, and I mean, all these years I went to every quarterly meeting, every big meeting, I went to all that Proctor stuff, is this, to have 30 people here from the brand new ones that are launching, and to have this kind of integration in between, and to explain, and to have, just like what happened on Friday.
We can't hear her.
Madeline, you're fading out a bit.
Okay, I unplugged
there you
it
go.
because
there you go.
I unplugged it because I wanted to record what you were saying. So, is this that's happening in the field that it's okay? It doesn't matter whether you're an executive, whether you're a silver, whether you haven't been active. That doesn't matter. Who's ever standing up? I mean, we've heard how many times. I said this to Cheryl today. She's there by herself. And I said, well, then you're becoming the upline. You are becoming the upline if you don't know who these people are and they're not answering. But yet we have this supportive community and this kind of training. Now, as many times as you've done law of attraction and all of that, I think tonight what happened, watching Lori's face, but Suzanne watching your face. Suzanne looks like she's in heaven because this is her sister that she's been working 20 years on, so for us to feel that, and the pride of Bob with with Christine and my pride and Eunice's, Eunice and Christine on Saturday, and just what we're feeling in helping one another, and that it's okay if it doesn't all work right. How else do we learn anyway? That it's okay. It really is a purpose-driven learning community. And so I'm really excited for you to give that aerospace, example now, that makes a little bit more sense, especially when Dr. Thornton added her component there. This is just so beautiful.
Guys, I need to get off this call now because this has got to be downloaded before I go on my next call. But I just wanted to cover that ground because we need a refresher every now and then, a reminder every now and then that we are creating our reality. And it really, the work that's being done is exceptional. It's fantastic. Now, can you imagine if you just enhanced it with that notion that as you went into the situation, don't go into the situation as the underdog. Go into the situation as the person that you wish to experience yourself as. And then that's how everyone's going to see you. And then they're going to react the way they're going to react. And that's going to change the circumstances in your career, in your business, and in your personal life. So that's that for tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining, and have a great week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike.